Welcome back, subscribers. I'm going to talk some more about universal basic income and what that really means. And this is going to be semi-cryptic, but because the information, if you want to know more about this, we go into length about this in behind our paywall on our private site, because the information that I've learned over the past few years on how the system was going to be rolled out is going to affect everyone. All right, so let's just look at the language that they use. Now, this probably isn't even, I don't think it's even really in the mainstream. So I know of this term um, because of crypto, because of digitation. They talk about programmable money. They might be using right now, I guess, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. That's really what's going on in Europe and in the United States. They have stable coins. You know, the stable coin bill, that there's information inside the stable coin bill. It doesn't necessarily say UBI, Universal Basic Income, but it's if you research the two of them separately, you'll find that the language is exactly the same. So let's look at the language. Universal means everything, everyone, universal. And then basic means basic needs, right? So this isn't welfare for people that are this is not only going to be for people that have to have it, but people that necessarily don't have to have it. And they're like, well, that's going to make the wealthy people even more wealthy. If they get basically free money from some tracking system through the governments, then if they already have XYZ amount of assets, then they're just going to be even more wealthy. And you're like, well, no, that's not the case. That's really the concern with this, is it's like, okay, it's universally distributed, meaning everyone gets it, and it's basic necessity income. The problem that we found with this is that it's to go to it can't go back into your coffers. So if you got a this is similar to I guess how people would kind of think of this would be like welfare, right? Public, public assistance, some way, whether it's like food, like food stamps, EBT cards, or maybe you have it's a disability check or something like that you get some kind of money from because of your situation, and there's government programs that allow this, will allow money distribution into your account for you because you as the person are in dire straits and you need some extra help to kind of move things along. But if you say like, well, that doesn't sound like universal basic income, Danny. So if I don't need any help, I don't have to take it. Be like, well, that's the thing that's really hard to wrap our heads around, and why we're like way out in front of this, because as I've been researching this, because it intertwines directly into some of this RWA information that I've been talking about, real world assets, and how basically the I don't like to use the word new system. It's the system that's coming in is basically the same old system. This is the financial system. It's the same, only now there's new rules that are involved. So like it's again taking the haves and the have-nots and everybody inside of this bracket, the six-pack Joe and Janes all the way up to Todd and his wife that are, whatever, I'll use an old school term, yuppies, at the country club, that they're generational wealth and they have absolutely no clue and they're completely disconnected from, normal society, completely delusional in their own space, right? And then that trickles down all the way down into that, like the 1% bracketers, and well, if it's universal and they're all getting this money, then how could that work based upon their assets? Again, it would go back into their that would help out the rich. That's not cool. Be like, well, that's the catch, is that they aren't going to be rich anymore. Be like, well, how could that be? So your personal your personal ownership is going to become essentially kind of a detriment to you. So if you're incredibly wealthy, this is where everything gets kind of turned on its tables. If you're incredibly wealthy, all those assets that are inside of your space, if anybody's ever gone through a bankruptcy, this is the best way to describe it. So I filed bankruptcy, Chapter 7, back in 2009. It was after the market crash, and it was just basically a business positioning thing that we ended up doing, and it worked out really well. I was really concerned about going into it, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And talked to a couple lawyers and some friends, and they're like, yeah, this is what everybody does. You should just do this. So the country's like broke, and the worldwide old economy is broke. It's like it's broken. So when it's broke, that means that when you go into a bankruptcy, everything that is inside that jurisdiction. So if it's just you and you're the entity that's filing bankruptcy, say Chapter 7, they look at everything that you owe and everything that you own. All right. And that goes on to your personal balance sheet. So if you owned a house or you owned a car. Now, when I did my bankruptcy, I didn't own anything. I was like pretty free and clear, had a house, had cars and things like that, but I didn't really have any equity, any real significant equity that really made a difference. And that's why we filed Chapter 7. I didn't need any protection for any of my assets because I was just I was in the building industry, and everything was about just like keep producing, and then leverage everything out, get more loans, go build more houses, and just keep rolling, basically rolling the debt. It was just a total scam that I bought into, and because everybody else is doing it. And then after it happened, that's when the light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, well, this is really messed up. Like, how can there be this safety net that's out there that, that's the way it was explained to me. And they're like, well, everything is prepaid. That's why we're in a debt system. What? So then I got, reading into that. And after experiencing it and learning how they set this system up for to create the safety net. So if in case you get into some situation, you'd be like, all right, well, you were playing a game to a certain point. Now you're bankrupt. Now all your assets that you have, you can depending upon what chapter you file, you're either going to lose them all, or you're going to be you can decide which ones that you want to keep. Reaffirm that debt. And that's what I did. So I got to keep my house and my, cars and things like that. I just reaffirmed the debt and moved on, but then got rid of the stuff I didn't want. Right. And then kept playing the game. So now that we're in this universal basic income space, those that are the haves, everyone's balance sheet on a personal level, like whatever is inside of your asset balance sheet, what you own in your name, is going to be put on this basically national ledger. And that universal basic income is being distributed regardless. So the money that you get for, say, housing, let's say you own your house, but your house is in your name. The universal basic income is going to, now this is going to roll out in the United States for probably about 5 to 10 years. So we're way out in front of this. All right. But this is, again, we're always about looking forward and positioning yourself for the future. It's about solutions. This is not, we don't do bullshit fear mongering in order to get people to subscribe and come into our private environment. It's solution based. So if that's the case, then your basic income everything will be shifted over into UBI. So if you need to pay rent and pay your taxes and things like that, but you own the asset, and the asset, let's say, has a value of $500,000 or $1 million, whatever the number is, your UBI, it won't be able to transfer into your own asset. And that when I learned about this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible. Like, what are people going to do? They're going to be scrambling to try to figure out, like, how could I retain the asset, but do I have to have UBI? Am I self-sufficient where I wouldn't need Social Security, which is, again, a social program in order to help people along so that whenever they retire, move into it, Social Security to move into my own asset. And that's the way that it's always been. And we're not 100% sure how this is going to shake out. But again, the term universal basic income is be like, well, if I own the asset, and I don't take the universal basic income, then yeah, you're fine. As long as you can continue to keep like bringing some income in to live on as you retire and be like, oh, well, I've got plenty of retirement accounts and everything is going to be just hunky dory. Well, that again is one of these major shifts in this reset that's going to be happening. So that's assuming that the markets stay where they're at and that your access to your retirement funds are there. So there's going to be a number of people. Whenever this happens, there's a resetting of the financial markets, which causes the value of the markets to go down. So I've talked to many people that have retired, and some people have retired just because of the cycles, the natural cycles that happen. They've retired on the upswing, so they're perfectly fine. The markets continue to carry on, and they get to go play golf every day and tennis, and lay on the beach and visit their grandchildren and so on and so on, because they retired at, say, from the Clinton administration on, right? And they did just fine, just before like 2009. Not a big deal to them. Not a big deal. Everything was fine. But then since about, it's really about since 9/11, around that period on, it's not necessarily 2009, but from 9/11 on is whenever things started getting a little bit rough. And people that were going into retirement, they have a lot more concerns because there's a lot more problems that are going on, and there's market fluctuations, and that's directly impacting their retirement funds. So again, these are elements that are intertwined with this universal basic income. So they've already created it, and there are already rules that are behind it. So the question is like, well, if they've created this universal system for income for everyone, why does everyone need it? Like, why would they spend it? If there isn't a need, why would they go ahead and create it? Again, it's all about this rug pull, this setup, this scripted environment that we live in, that there are these cycles of change that happen. And whenever this occurs, there's a reset that would happen with the particular assets that are held by wealthy people. And they're going to be earmarked differently in the personal, so that it's going to be viewed essentially as a liability to the person who is of wealth in their own personal name. Now, if they have a business or a trust or something like that, you're protected. You're going to be more protected anyway in this new system. If you're Six-Pack Joe and Jane, and you're just paying your rent on your whatever, that's trailer park or wherever, it's not going to affect them. It's not going to affect them. If people have no equity in anything, it's not going to affect them. The banking system in general, like, you're not really the owner of the property. If you still own a note on a property, meaning that the bank is the one that is the lien holder, the bank is going to be the one that is making a decision whether or not, like, that equity that you have built into the property is going to be transferred over into this new system. So as we're putting all these elements and things together, I'm like, well, it's essentially like, we have all this information that we've kind of gotten together, and then the end game point that's kind of in the middle, where you take in all this information of all these services and things that are being created on the new digital platform system. We're like, well, it only leads basically to one directive, and that one directive is that there's this equalization that's going to be happening. So if they're basically resetting the game board, all right, think of it that way. Like, you've run this race in the United States, and you've acquired all these assets, and you won the game. You're way out in front of everybody else. Or you're just starting off and you're like, gosh, I need to kind of get something going. But everybody's like 3 or 4 laps ahead of me on the track. How am I going to, oh my gosh, I have to do all this other extra work in order to get to that point to be at that level. Just keep on swimming. So tell yourself. And no, but those that have that are way out in front, they're like the administrators, the planet orchestrators. I decided, like, okay, it's time for another reset. This isn't new. We're gonna just call it good. If you got to this point, yeah, you won that game. We're gonna change some of the rules to the game, but we're gonna start everybody off at the same start point. All right, we're going to start them off again, and then see who, with these new rules, who's going to win the next game over the next 3 generations. And that's the way these people think. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen for one single generation to change. It's the proper positioning for uh, generational wealth, if you will. It takes multiple generations to get into that point. Somebody that have the cojones to move into a new space that may or may not be lucrative to them, right? Um, the land grab that happened, the Oklahoma land grab in the 1880s. I talk about that one a lot because that's essentially what is going on currently right now in the digital metaverse space with crypto. It's a free for all. It's wide open. But choose your property wisely. That's property. All right. Crypto's property. So do I stake my land? Do I put the stake in the land where it's not anywhere near a water source? Or I make sure I have a stream? Like who's upstream? Am I friends with my neighbors? Am I going to be prosperous for multiple generations? Is there what's it like? I'm going to choose this plot because this one's going to be the best one for me to be able to carry on and get through the Dust Bowl because I can see whatever, something in the future that is, this seems way too good to be true. What's the catch, right? So we're in exactly the same moment in time right now and coming up with these solutions as to how to position yourself and at least understand the rules so that you can make the proper decision to say like, okay, I'm XYZ age and I don't really want to get in anything new. What are my best options? All right. Or I'm young and I'm going to have to learn these rules, but they're not really talking about them just yet. Maybe on the Ivy League level, that is where they're talking about it. But on the lower level private, upper level private institutional level, it's being talked about, but they're not assuming that they're going to be affected because they're not putting all these pieces and parts together to come to this finalized conclusion. So anyway, whenever this happens, if you know the rules before they do it, before they reset, you can already prepare yourself. You don't have to put your energy back into keep running around the track and saying like, okay, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get to the front of me, for the front. Be like, no. From what we understand, the end mark date is like it's somewhere in 2028. Okay, 2028 to 2029 is going to be whenever it becomes really apparent. All right, and if you start educating yourself now, that you'll be able to position yourself and move assets around with in the old system with relative ease, because it's not tracked the same. Okay, because it still use paper. If anybody's noticed like of how stringent everything is in the computer industry, like right now with all these two-party authentications, your bank accounts, everything else, that's not happening on the local level. That's not happening for deed of transfer for property. You know, if you got a house or commercial building, something like that, and it's in XYZ person's name, and you need to slide it over, it's like $150 and some paperwork to move the asset. That's the old way. The new way is going to be about beneficial ownership. It's like, well, okay, can you prove that you own it? Can you like, what's the reasoning for why you're moving it over to here? They're going to be totally up your ass, and it's a huge pain in the neck, because when digital comes in by this 2028 to 2029, everything is going to be identified on that. So what we're doing is positioning ourselves in the know of how these guys do business and what the end game is already in the digital and how everything is going to be inside this digital space for tracking. And it's really just for tracking of ownership that they want to know. And you'll have to like so you'll have to prove ownership, and then you'll also have to prove like the reason why it's going into another space. Be like, it's a free country, I can do whatever I want. Be like, no, not on the digital space. It's not. That's the whole catch to this whole thing is that everything that is, if you place an asset in a digital space, there's a real asset and the digital identification of it. The digital identification, it trumps the real world. So there's basically like going to be like kind of like two sets of books that are happening that are going to be part of the system. So the digital system and the transactions are the ones that in order for you to be able to do business, it's going to be on the digital side after that point in time. And you're going to have to comply in order to move assets after that time happens. And that's where the difficulty gets it comes in. Like right now, it's still like rogue, free for all, old school business in the U.S., and it's like it's relatively easy to move the assets. But whenever this happens, it's going to be very sloppy, and I know that it's going to be difficult to. The system's not just going to flip on and be like, okay, this is the way it is, and everybody read these documents so that you know exactly what to do. And be like, no, that's not the way they do it. They they create the new system and the new rules, and then whenever it comes time for you to move assets, then that's when you learn. All right, you learn the hard way. You learn, oh, I got my driver's license, and oh, officer, I didn't know that was a law. Yeah, get out of your car. Here, or the IRS be like, we didn't know that was a law. I'll be like, yeah, we're sorry. Hey. So the same exact thing is going to be happening on asset ownership and asset distribution to next of kin, if you will, or like who has rulership over that particular asset, who owns the asset. And when it goes into digital space, it's on international law. It's not localized law. Digital space runs on international law. It's wide open to everybody, but it falls under those international rules, maritime law. And so proving that you own these assets, and then they'll ask like, well, the reason of why that you're moving these assets, because after this happens, there's going to be a mad scramble for people to try to figure out how to preserve their wealth. All right, but where it's sitting right now, if you understand what's going on, you can start shifting and asset stripping into other vehicles so that you're pretty safe. Now, what's going to happen on the markets? Um, I it doesn't look like it's going to be very good. All right, that there's going to be a lot of chaos that as these things start coming in, and it'll be like whispers behind the curtain of people talking like, Joe, I just tried to move XYZ and they won't let me do it. Well, what do you mean? Oh, I have to prove this, this, and this. I have to have all this documentation. And I can't do it. It'll be something like that, and then that'll start to permeate through the upper level of the asset holders, and then there's going to be kind of this kind of freak out time that's going to happen, and the lawyers don't know about it. The crypto lawyers, people that we've been talking to on the real world asset side, they know about it because it's already baked in the cake of all of the information that they have to pack into earmarking a real world asset into the new digital system, essentially transferring a real asset into the digital system. So they already know about this thing. How many of them are out there? Not very many. What about accountants? How many accountants do you know that are willing to, that really understand crypto and understand the rules behind crypto? Right. So now if everything is all moving into digital space, be like, what does that mean? Well, everybody's going to be left holding the bag. That's it. So learn it. Be inside of an environment that teaches you. It's a free, open environment inside behind the paywall because this isn't public information. We're keeping it so it's clean, so that the information that we pull in isn't able to be manipulated by bots and AI and so on and so on. That we go out and we make phone calls. I have the interviews, and we ask the pointing questions, and then we have open forum discussions about situations. And people I know with people with their money that they want questions answered, and everybody's situation is different. And doing interviews with me or somebody that's on staff will give you some clarifications, at least how to things to look into, or at least to start to creating a new heading to help position yourself better for what these changes are going to do and how they're going to impact your life. But again, if you want to remain private and publishing it, like the rules that we have in the site are very simple. Like if you come in and you have an interview with me, and we don't necessarily talk about your internal stuff, but like your personal stuff, you can be however you want to ask the questions to get them out there. Those questions and answer sessions are personalized interviews, and you can keep your anonymity. We can block your face out. You can change your name. We do it on Zoom so that we can pull information, and because we also want to know like what other people are running into. So whenever you start running into some of these gaffes and these friction points, we're going to privatize that information and keep it like our own personalized secret society. That's what we're doing. So you come inside the paywall, you have an interview with me, and we talk, even if it's anonymous. But we talk about situation, we field, we talk questions, we go back and forth about what your situation is. Then we publish it on the private site, and then you'll have free access. But people, if you want to know what's going on, you're going to have to pay to listen to it. Like we're not using it as a the way that we see this is the information that we're pulling out of the real space, real human being information. That's why it's Reservoir Human, is invaluable. Moving forward, the more uh, feelers we have out there, and I know you're out there. I know these people are out there. The more feelers we have out there, the more that they're going to be. We're going to start to see a trend. All right, and the information that you start pulling in will get you a leg up on everybody else. I mean, there isn't really going to be a way to do it. You're not going to be able to get it through digital public environments because it's going to be totally muddy. So you have direct information. Be like, so Danny, well, why? How are you the expert on this? Well, it was an accident. I got involved in crypto. I've got a 30-year business experience with real estate in the building industry, and I understood the language. And as I started moving, more towards like, okay, what can I do with this? There has to be a reason for it. It doesn't make any sense that we're just trading. It's just a trading environment for trading coins and tokens and things like that. What's it for? It's a technology. What's it for? And then that's what got me into RWA. And then once I got on the RWA stuff recently, like in the past, say 9 months, and started talking to these companies that tokenize real assets. And then the Genius Act and go through all that, I was like, oh my gosh, I know what's I know now it all makes sense. So you have to have a real estate background. You have to have a crypto background. You also have to have experience where you've run into um, the legal element as well, whether it's a bankruptcy. I've been audited by the IRS twice. I've been just the old school stuff, and then the new school stuff. I've had situations with Celsius and trying to move coins and tokens before they went belly up. I've run into a number of things in the new crypto system, which are legal elements, and then the old system as well. And then once I started kind of marrying the two up, I'm like, I see what they're doing. And then you add in UBI and the support of the stablecoin system that they have in place. Uh, their position right now, they have all the puzzle pieces together. It's just they're all kind of scattered. And if you understand all of those pieces of the old system and the new system, you can marry them up like pretty easily. And the reasons why they're doing it is also something that we know about as well. So anyway, that's what we bring to the table. And so come one, come all. And it's open to everyone. Again, like the rules are, the fees are we comp the fees because if I'm using the material and I publish it on our private site behind the paywall, which it doesn't go public, um, that's basically your payment. Your information and what you bring to the table is the payment to be in the group. All right. And if you want to know and you want to keep stuff private, but you want to know what's going on, then you can just go ahead and pay. It's not a big deal. There's got to be a lot of money that's moved, transferred, and this wealth distribution thing is absolutely no joke. So anyway, cheers. More to come.